Hey, Sammy. First question. I mean, your fight's coming up here in what 13 days? It's March
Yep.
1st, right? Your fight's on March 14th. He's fighting Ross Pearson coming up here. Did you watch the fights last night for the UFC?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
If you had to fight Ronda Rousey, would you try to come out with a flying knee right off the top?
Seemed like a bad, hindsight's 2020, but it seemed like a very bad call. But I think in the past, Zingano has been a bit of a slow starter and had to take a bit of a beating in some of her fights before she's come back to win. And Ronda's always been ready to pull that trigger right off the hop, and she's such a quick starter. So I think it was kind of, she was probably just trying to come out there quick and kind of catch her off guard and maybe get her on her heels a little bit, which is something nobody's been able to do, and still nobody has done.
Yeah, and whatever. We talked to Gene LaBelle. He says it's 12.83 seconds, and the official time is 14 seconds, but it doesn't make a difference. It was such a good scramble. Like, it was amazing to watch that scramble, but
yeah,
really, it's honestly, Dana White says she's the Mike Tyson, of the women's division. It's kind of right. Like, she's destroying people.
She's definitely the one of the most dominant, or probably the most dominant champion we've seen in UFC history. It's I've always, I'm not trying to be sexist here, but I don't think women's MMA, I think it still has a long way to go before there's the skill level. It's just they're just a little behind, and which is understandable.
Not a little behind. They're a lot behind. They're a lot behind because. Yeah. It's brand new. It's so much younger. Women's MMA, even though they tried to make it go earlier, back in the early 2000s, it just didn't catch on. Now it's caught on, and people are paying attention to it. But Ronda's 5 years ahead of everybody else in her entire competitive state. Like, She really is 5 years ahead of it.
Yeah, and not just 5 years ahead skill-wise, and just that killer instinct she has, and athleticism is something that's you can't teach. So. I don't know if anyone will ever catch up.
I want to ask you about one more fight before we start talking about you and Ross. You saw the Ellenberger and the Koscheck fight.
Yes.
Did that surprise you, the way that it ended up? Like, it almost looked like Jake Woodley wasn't doing much. He was kind of conceding to end up back against the cage because that's where Josh was going to push it, and then finally found a way to get to hit him on the way in. Took his back a little bit, and then forced a scramble, and ends up getting a standing front naked choke, and then ended up being in a north-south choke by the time it finished.
Yeah, it was kind of weird how it ended. It was the whole fight kind of surprised me. Not really. I thought Josh did a lot of good things. His wrestling looked good. He hit that power double that he's kind of that's kind of his bread and butter. And he was keeping. Jake had his hands full with him, and I was expecting Jake to kind of knock him out because he's got that power in his hands, and Josh has been his chin's been tested before, so it wasn't how I expected to see it. Especially I was surprised to hear that was Jake's first submission in the UFC, but it was slick. I'd never seen that choke finish that way, so it was kind of. It's cool to see.
I picked Jake to win, but I thought it was going to be a decision. I thought both guys were going to come out hard and heavy. And the only reason why I picked Jake to win by decision is because I think both guys were backs against the wall, and there was a win or loser's going to have to leave town kind of thing. Both guys are on that kind of step. And Josh is just older, 37 years old. He just doesn't have what he had back in the day when he made the title run. And you could see the way he was wiping his eye that it's still giving him problems. And it was the other eye that GSP broke. But his left eye still gives him problems every now and again from that fight. And he ends up wiping it all the time, even though nothing's wrong with it. Yeah. Do you have any particular habits that you've had to break from old? Because you've fought a lot, not just in MMA, but kickboxing too. Is there any old habits you had to break of like, this isn't bothering me, but it's bothering me kind of thing? Like you didn't really see Josh get poked in the eye, but he kept touching it anyway, so it was almost like a habit for him?
It's it's not like that, but it's one thing that I would like to change, and I've a habit I have is when I get takedowns, just letting guys stand up and not really pressing and working ground and pounding, and just being I started off my career as a kickboxer in MMA. When that's what the sport was. It was more of guys had their backgrounds and they stuck to what they were good at, and didn't, I wasn't as diverse. And you know, I spent so many years working on my jiu-jitsu and wrestling now, and it's like, and then I'll get a takedown and I'll have somebody on their back and, you know, sit there and throw 3-4 punches and you know, basically just get the takedown and you know, for the points, and then just let guys get up, which is kind of stupid.
Which is another problem, because I talked to Sarah McMahon after her last fight. She obviously just lost to Miesha Tate. She gets on top of people, takes them down, and holds on and doesn't go for the kill. Where you're doing the opposite. You're going for the kill, but they're getting away. And you've got to find that middle ground where you're holding them down, keeping them down, but still looking for strikes, still looking for a way to finish the fight off. It's a weird dichotomy, especially when you have a wrestling background of how to control somebody. If that's not the sport you spent 30 years doing, you know, it's like me trying to out-jab you. It's not going to happen. You're always going to out-jab me because you spent more time jabbing. It's just how the world works.
Exactly. But, you know, I'm at like you gotta try it in the ring or in the cage, and in order for it to become part of your repertoire, right? You can do it all you want in the gym and in training, but until you've done it in that fight situation, it's never really going to become second nature and just feel natural. Yeah, so I don't know, something I'd like to change before I hang them up.
And I've asked a lot of athletes the same question. They can't really give me an answer, and because they're not self-aware, they're not really looking, they're not coachable as much as you are. That a lot of guys, I'd say 50% are coachable, and 50% aren't, where they just won't learn. They just don't learn about themselves. It's always an issue. What do you think Ross Pearson is trying to learn right now to get ready for Sam Stout?
Well, I would imagine. I honestly am expecting him to come out and want to stand and strike. And the reason for that is mainly because it's you know, he's training with the guys out in San Diego, right? So KJ Noons and Jeremy Stevens, who have both got wins over me standing. So I'm sure he's working with them, and he probably feels confident with that fact in mind. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm expecting. And, you know, he's never really been known for taking guys down and looking for submissions or, you know, that's not really his thing. He likes to stand and trade. And, you know, I think he'll be expecting that from me, and I'll be expecting that from him. And, you know, we're probably going to go out and do that.
Your record since 2011 has been win one, lose one, all the way through to your last one with KJ. You lost. So obviously you're on record now to get ready for another win. It's your habit, it's your pattern. Is it now becoming a pattern because of I know it's
a pattern I'm trying to break out of, to be honest, man. You know, this will be my 19th fight in the UFC, and I'm 9-9. It's like being this, you know, 500 fighter journeyman type of guy is, you know, it's all well and good. I've had a long career, and I'm thankful for what I've got, but, you know, I really want to start stringing wins together. And, you know, I think a big part of that, especially, well, in the last few years, you know, in the beginning I was young and you know, I was still learning, and then, you know, I had the loss of Sean Tompkins, which was the biggest hit of my career. So the last 3 years I've been doing it without a coach. So, which is kind of ridiculous to think about it. Like, what sport? Name one athlete that's excelled and done well without a coach in any sport. So, you know, trying to coach myself has just been stupid. And, you know, so that's one change I've made through this camp. I've hired a guy, his name is Reno Belcastro, based out of Windsor. And he's been a friend of mine for a long time. He's got a young team based out of Windsor, Ontario. Him and Mark were training partners when Hominick was when he was in college. Reno was kind of at the tail end of his career when I was first coming up. And, you know, we have a good personal relationship, which is kind of the first thing I look for in a coach, is just, you know, getting, especially, you know, coming from working with Sean and being so close with him. I think I need that like a bond personally with somebody before I can, you know, bond with them in a coach and pupil kind of dynamic. So this guy Reno is, you know, cut from the same cloth as me. He's got a very similar style of coaching that Sean had. Similar background. Comes from a striking background and isn't afraid to, you know, go outside and seek help from wrestling coaches and seek help from the guys that he, you know, if there's an area he feels that he doesn't know at all, right? So, you know, I got a lot of respect for him, and we're really meshing well, and I've got real high hopes for my future with him in my corner.
But you're in London, Ontario, right? That's where you live?
Yep.
Okay, so how far away is Windsor? Of course, being American, I have no clue.
It's only about an hour and a half. So we're, I'm going out there a little bit. He's coming out here a little bit, and plus, I've been doing this long enough. He can give me a workout. There's a lot of workouts he can just tell me what to do, and I can do it myself, right? Or have somebody else kind of hold the timer or do that kind of thing, right? It's not like he has to be there and looking over my shoulder every day, but just being accountable for all my workouts. I got somebody to answer to now, and part of it's on me still. I could lie to him and say I'm not in the gym, but he's calling me and saying, "Hey, I want you doing this today. I want you doing this today." Instead of me trying to tell myself that, or what I need to be doing and getting up. Some days if you're trying to coach myself for the last 3 years, some days I get up and be like, "Oh, I'm tired. I shouldn't spar today." And I don't have somebody saying, "No, that's not an option. You get your ass in the gym right now." So I got that again, and on the flip side, some days I was, run down and feeling like crap and being like, I set my weight's high. I need to get back in there. I need to be in the gym. I can't miss a workout. And sometimes you need somebody to tell you to work, and sometimes you need somebody to tell you to take it off, right? So, Reno's been good for that, and this camp I feel better going into this fight than I have in a very long time.
He's gonna be in your corner as well when it's fight night?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's flying out with me to Texas for the whole week. He'll be there the whole time.
What other fight on this fight card, besides your fight, obviously, is the one you want to see? Whether it's early or late, and a lot of times you might not be able to get to see them because they're right before yours, right after yours. But you're excited about getting the results or seeing this next fight that's on there.
Obviously, I love watching Pettis fight. Anytime he's in there, I got a chance to go out and train with him at Duke's gym for just for a couple of days, and the guy's he's really on a different level, man. He's really he's quick, he's talented, he's athletic as hell. I've really seen him and kind of always kept an eye out for him since his WEC days. I knew he was going to be a guy to look out for. So I'm obviously looking forward to watching that. But the one I'm just as or possibly even more interested, just because I think it's harder to pick who the winner is going to be. I think Pettis is going to beat Rafael dos Anjos. So I think he's going to be a clear favorite. But I'm really excited to watch is Johnny Hendricks and Brown. I think that's on paper it looks like Hendricks is gonna run through him, but that's how it's looked for Brown's last 5 fights. He's looked awesome, man. He's come out and just kept guys on their heels and overwhelmed everybody and pushed a pace that nobody can keep up with. So you can't. At the beginning, I was kind of thinking like, oh, no way he's going to pull this off. No way. And he just kept doing it. So I'm really excited to see that one.
Well, the good news is the 2 fights that you want to see on the card are after your fight. According to the list now, you're like 8th out of 11.
They got me on the last spot on the Fox card. On the free TV stuff. So, which is a spot they've kind of put me in many times before. I'm kind of comfortable there. And usually you've got a pretty good idea what time you're going to be fighting. It's kind of it's cool with me, and I feel like now there's so many events and there's so many people that it's getting hard to find a bar or a pub or whatever, or a sports bar in my city to watch the fights. There's so many events now that people aren't.
Well, is part of that too because the Rogers Group, I forget how it works up there, but Rogers spent a lot of money to get hockey only on their network, and they kind of let Joe Ferraro go, and they dropped the MMA portion of the programming. Is it getting tougher because it's hard to get the programming?
I don't think it's so much. Well, I don't know what the whole deal is with the Rogers deal falling through, but what it seems to be more than that is just there's so much content. There's so much. There's a fight almost every weekend.
Yeah.
So the casual fans aren't keeping up anymore. So you're not like it's not like you remember back in the day when it was once every couple weeks to a month, and it was like you were excited about it.
You're way too young. You're way too young to remember. I remember when there was only 8 fights a year. That was it.
I wasn't fighting then, but I was around.
I was fighting then. When I first got in the UFC, there was 8 fights in a year.
Dude, we were all crowded around Sean's living room for every Pride and every UFC from way back in the day, and those were, you know, that was, and then, you know, and then the UFC had this real big boom, and they were doing maybe, you know, one a month and more, or one, and then like a one on free TV, and that's when I thought it was at kind of at its best, and it was, you know, everyone could follow every fight. You knew every fighter. There was never these, you know, you're never looking through a card going, who is that guy? I've never seen that. I've never heard of this guy. And, you know, so, and on one hand, you know, me being a fighter, it's great. I can almost pick the weekend I want to fight. There's so many events. It's great. You know, I got guys around the gym that are complaining about they can't get a fight. For me being in the UFC, I can basically pick the exact date that I want to fight, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I just think it's hard for the fans to keep up now, and you know, not as many people are going to, especially to, like, I feel like if you're on one of the free TV cards, there's a good, or like where I am at the end of the you know, the Fox card, there's a good chance that more people are going to see my fight than some of the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you know, somebody who's on pay-per-view.
You know, Fox is 93 million homes, I believe, down in North America, or down in the U.S. And then the pay-per-view numbers might be, you know, 900,000, 750,000 total in North America. So it's like way more people see you on Fox, and it's almost better sometimes, unless you're the champ, because you get part of the pay-per-view. When you become champ, you get part of the pay-per-view numbers. You get part of that pay to come back into your pocket. So unless you're like the champ, it's almost better to be on Fox because more people are going to see you.
Exactly. I think you still get a little bit more money in sponsorships being on the pay-per-view. It seems to be that way. But
the whole sponsorship deal's changing, so that's not going to be the same anymore.
Exactly. You know? So once this Reebok thing goes through, it's, you know.
Were you surprised to hear that last night they tested everybody, urine and blood, in the state of California?
What event was it? It was one of the fights I fought in. I want to say it was either the fight against Cody McKenzie or, I don't know, one of the fights I was in California, I believe it was. And they piss tested everybody, but I've never even heard of doing blood tests for.
Blood tests is a lot harder to cheat. The shelf life of stuff that's in your system is a lot longer in your blood than it is in your urine. So it's a lot, you know, didn't catch stuff that you stopped taking, you know, longer ago. It's a game changer in my mind now that they're doing this is going forward. And I said this when they made the announcement that yes, July is when everything's going to start, is what their announcement was. But the UFC is one of those people that they go, yes, July is when we're going to start, because they want to make sure they have everything in a row. But believe me, before then, they're going to start ramping stuff up whenever they can. So obviously this card, I guarantee you that you'll be fighting into Dallas, Texas on UFC 185 on March 14th. You will get blood and you will get urine tested. And everyone on the card will get blood and urine tested. And that's the way it's going to be going forward.
Honestly, me speaking from the perspective of a guy who's stayed clean through his whole career, good. Bring it on. You know, it's good for me.
Yeah. It changes. I think it's gonna within a year and a half, it's gonna change the whole face of MMA. Guys we thought were gonna be champs are still being champs, will not be champs, and will not be in the hunt anymore. They'll see them start fading out and falling away.
There's a couple. I'm not gonna name any names, but there's a couple people I expect to drop down in the rankings significantly if they really.
You can name their names. Nobody listens to this. It's fine, Sam. Go ahead. You can name their names. I don't even hear it. It's fine.
No, well, I don't want to. No, I don't want to point any fingers. And
we're still innocent until proven guilty. Until they fail a test, everyone's innocent. Exactly.
But I think there's going to be a lot more people getting proven guilty, and I think this is going to change the landscape of the whole UFC. And you know, I welcome it. I think it's great.
I love it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to make our sport last a lot longer because we're ahead of the curve on everybody else waited until they got congressional hearings.
And it makes it a lot more fair. You know, it gives guys that are staying clean. And you know, it's naive to think that there isn't a lot of guys in here that are on the sauce, man. That are taking gear and hey, man, I welcome the changing of the guard if it means, you know, the guys who are playing it fair through the whole time are gonna start getting their shot, right? Yeah,
getting their lift up. Sam, thanks for spending time with us. Kiss that daughter of yours next time you see her.
I will.
Man, I can't wait to see this fight. I'll be at home watching this one. I'm not going to make it down to Dallas. But as always, I love watching you fight, and especially having you fight for free on Fox makes it good for me.
There we go. All right. Good talking to you, Frank.
You too, buddy.
Cheers.